Okay, so this is my sports coaching screencast assignment 1. So I'll be basing these skills, techniques, roles and responsibilities around these 4 coaches here. So I'll be using Dave Brailsford for cycling, Jose Mourinho for football, Ash Kempson for rugby and Joe Mills for basketball. Ash Kempson and Joe Mills will be my non-elites. Okay, so first off go for innovator. So a coach being an innovator would mean they can successfully develop motivational techniques and styles that are appropriate for teams and players. So they can create practices and methods for the team that they can build on and encourage the team's knowledge and ability. So coaches have to deal with personality types, body types and learning abilities. They must take all these into consideration when making the regime so that they have hit all the targets for every player and not just the individuals. So Dave Brailsford is a great elite innovator towards the British cycling team. He makes up individual schedules for players so they all have something to work on, whether that's something similar to the rest of them or something completely different. He's also quite a creative person, allowing his players to leech off of that creativeness and put it into their own work and their own daily style. Moving on to a motivator. A coach being a motivator would greatly boost the team's overall self-esteem and confidence. If the teammates know that the coach has faith in them and believes in them coming out as a winner in the game or match, then the players will take that information and play to the best of their ability, increasing sporting performance overall. This can be done either in the back of the changing rooms at half-time or in training when they are preparing for a big game. Jose Mourinho is a great motivator towards his players. As he was once a footballer himself, he can put his knowledge of when he used to play on the field into his setups and talks for the game, allowing the players to know that he has been in the same position as them and as they have been before. He tells them all the right things before the match to get them physically and mentally prepared and psyched up for the game too. So moving on to role model, a coach being a role model can really boost the confidence of non-elite players to aspire to be like them. Trying to aspire to be like a professional elite player may be hard to get to, however them starting off with a non-elite coach is always a good start, as well as they are typically better than you. However, it won't take years and years of training to get to their level, unlike trying to compare yourself to an elite athlete. Them being a role model gives them someone to look up to and push themselves to be like them. Joe Mills is a great role model for not just basketball but an athlete too. He always is willing to help out people whenever he can. He does one-on-ones with individuals who are looking for more help than others, and 9 times out of 10 the players always come away with something to learn or progress onto. Moving on to TEI, which means trainer, educator and instructor. Coaches being a TEI can really help athletes all round in their performance. They can train the players to the best of their ability in certain areas and topics, whether that's doing gym work for strength and shuttle runs and circuits for endurance. They can educate the player in new techniques and skills to work on or develop, and finally an instructor where they have an all-round great knowledge of sport in general and they can give advice and help towards said sports. Ash Kempson is a great TEI as he has fully developed knowledge around rugby, so when it comes to training for rucks, tackling and movement patterns, Ash knows it and can train people to do them. When it comes to knowledge about rugby and all the different techniques and skills you can learn, Ash knows it and can help with that. If people are in a tight situation and are unsure what to do, whether it be what's the best way to tackle in a scrum, Ash knows it and can help you with what to do. So moving on to the responsibilities. First one I've got is knowledge of the coaching environment. So coaches have a vast range of knowledge of the coaching environment. Coaches have a vast range of knowledge of the coaching environment, which is really good to have, as they will, as the responsibility titles have a good knowledge of coaching. They will be able to give athletes high intensity elite training whilst it being achievable still. They can put what they've seen, learned over the years other coaches coach into their sessions and improvise and adapt it to their players. They need to know what facilities they have within their access and where it all is in case they need it for improving their training sessions, allowing for some to progress onto other drills or something simply as knowing where the toilet is. Dave Brailsford has a great knowledge of the coaching environment and how to coach Team Sky. He has seen others compete and coach and has taken what they do and changed it into the form of his own training regime. You can see how well it has gone for him by the status of Team Sky currently in the cycling committee and what their equipment and gear is like compared to non-elite athletes. Moving on to professional conduct, coaches have to be professional with their players and with others in their league too. Being professional shows you're serious about what you're trying to aim for in the league. This tends to be much more common in elite teams and athletes rather than non-elite, as there is more on the lines at elite level. Jose Mourinho is always acting professional towards everyone in the league, so his players will first off listen to him and treat him with the respect of a coach, and others will also respect him as a coach of Man U. Moving on to equal opportunities. Coaches who allow equal opportunities in their team tend to be very successful and a great coach. They allow for all players in the team to have game time and switch on and off all players, allowing for as many people to get in game time as possible. These coaches will sometimes sub off the star player if needed, just to get everyone an equal opportunity to play. Joe Mills allows equal opportunities in basketball, as he will sub off players to allow time for others to play and gain that game time experience you need to progress and get better at your sport. So the last responsibility is health and safety. Coaches need health and safety when training, teaching skills and techniques, and in matches. If they don't have this, there is a high risk of the player injuring themselves, putting them out of the match for a while. This can be things such as not checking players' boots to see if they have all blades and studs in, if they're wearing the correct sporting outfit, or if they aren't wearing any shin pads, etc, etc. Ash Kempson applies health and safety into his training sessions and games, otherwise it could lead him to not having a rugby team for a match coming up. He'll be putting all his team at risk by not doing a health and safety check, as rugby is quite a full contact sport, which means there's a much higher risk of injuring yourself. So moving on to skills, I've got time management. So a skill such as time management is key to have as an elite coach. They have to consider balancing training time, game time, family time and a social life, all within the 7 days of the week. Considering elite footballers also may have to travel to their matches, which can be quite far away from home, they have to consider what they can do to balance it all out. Jose Mourinho needs good time management, as he has to organise all of this too. He can help out by allowing all his players to video call their families whilst away, as that will allow them to see them and catch up with them, even though they are quite far away from at their current time. Moving on to communication. A skill such as communication is what forms a team. If you can't communicate with your teammates and talk to them about what they're doing right and what they can improve on, then no progress will be made. Communication builds the team's chemistry together. This doesn't have to be on the pitch either, it can be out of sport too. If they were to only talk in training and in games, then they wouldn't know each other hardly at all. Jose Mourinho also needs good communication with the team, within the team he runs, as otherwise players won't listen to him, which will cause errors during the game and allowing goals to get through because of pure lack of communication amongst the team members. This is usually higher communication is much more common in elite athletes, as they tend to talk in and out of games as well. Moving on to evaluating. Evaluating after a hard game is key for non-elite athletes. It shows them what they did right and what they could have done better in the game. This gives them time to self-reflect on what they put into the game as well. This happens at both levels, however non-elites tend to gain the most out of it. Things such as maybe their passing was poor would be something to take away with them and improve upon, ready for the next time they play. Both Joe Mills and Ash Kempson are great at this, whether it be after a hard game or training. They both reflect on everyone's performance and give out tips to either the whole group or certain individuals on how to improve their performance of game. So moving on to techniques. So goal setting. Goal setting is where the coach can set either short, medium or long-term goals that the players has to try to achieve within the selected time limit. This can vary from difficulty too, such as for medium-term goal is score 5 goals in 5 games. And a short-term goal could be play 1 game of football for 30 minutes. Jose Mourinho does this to motivate their players to push themselves and strive for higher goals. Joe Mills does this to give them something to aim for, but also a boost to their confidence too. Positives about goal setting is that it can be set as a motivator as well as improving your performance. Say if it was a long-term goal of moving your position from left back in defensive football to centre back, this will not only give you the motivation to compete against the current centre back and try and beat them at their own job, but it will also push you and you will strive to improve your performance. Negatives about it is that some people aren't so willing to do medium and long-term goals. They want to improve as fast as they can and want to be the best within short periods of time, which physically can't happen. Having medium and long-term goals to try and achieve the aim is how you get to be better. Others also won't stick Others also won't stick to their goals and start to slip in their performance due to lack of dedication towards the goals that they have been set. So moving on to fitness testing. Fitness testing is used to test and see how well an athlete can perform. This isn't used for improving performance, it's just used to measure how fit you are for your sport. Some tests that can be done to measure aerobic endurance and power are the 12-minute Cooper run test, the multi-stage fitness test, and the sergeant jump test. A coach uses this to pinpoint strengths and weaknesses within the team by recording the data down and comparing it with other players in the same team. They then analyse it and work on those weaknesses. Positives about this is if it's done correctly, the data collected would be able to help make improvements to their game. So for example, if you did the 12-minute Cooper run, you recorded laps correctly and one player does 5 less than the rest, then that clearly shows that they might need to work on their cardiovascular endurance. Negatives is that there's no point in doing the test if you don't record the information or if the tests aren't done correctly. This is because the data collected won't be reliable or useful, and they won't learn if they're doing the test right or wrong in the end. Moving on to effective demonstrations. Effective demonstrations are predominantly used in training, as their purpose is to show how something is done with coaching points alongside it. This can be something simple such as a pass in football, or something as complicated as a round off in gymnastics. Coaches use these and make sure everyone gets them, so everyone will learn the correct technique on how to do it. If they get into the correct technique, they won't go into a tackle dodgily and have a risk of injuring themselves. Positives about this is that if the demonstration done is correct, then the performers will learn how to do the skill correctly. Therefore, they will execute the skill in the game and do it right, so they achieve what they want to do. However, negatives can be if some coaches can't do the technical skill they're demonstrating, then performers will try and copy it, and that means they can get it wrong and they're getting taught wrong, and they won't be doing the skill correctly, therefore leading to another injury that could potentially occur.